Welcome to Mr. Truth, where we take real studies from real scientists and we discuss the statistics behind the social trends and what drives our behavior. Mr. Truth, where we ask questions everyone wants to ask and we give answers nobody wants to hear. Mr. Truth.
All right, let's talk crypto. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to each introduce ourselves. Tell us your age, what you do, and how you're connected. You can lie about your age, even though we are the Mr. Truth podcast. I lie about my age all the time. I always tell people, they're like, how old are you? I'm like, I'm 15 and I'm hyper-developed. It's a condition. Then they look at me super weird. So introduce yourself.
So my name is Sandra. I'm 26, coming originally from Estonia. For the past 2 years, I've been in Dubai. And so my background most probably with crypto is then that I was involved with one venture capital firm called Brilliance Ventures, who was only investing in blockchain companies for the past 7-8 years. And I was building for them the advisory arm to help their portfolio companies with connecting them with the service providers in the blockchain space. And then I also helped to raise funds and helped to launch tokens for a couple of projects separately as a side, as a consulting.
All right, cool. Nice to meet you. Sandra.
It's my turn, yeah. Yeah, my name is Jaak, and I've been in crypto since 2017, about there. And I haven't managed any funds or stuff like that, but I have been on the, finding opportunities on a small scale, gift cards, buying, selling, doing cash deals for crypto. Also had a company that I was licensed for doing crypto deals. And now I'm actually helping a company that has a decentralized exchange, profit making for basically everybody. The average Joe can invest there. And also another manual trader who's managing big funds. So I'm looking over that.
Okay, so you're a crypto trader, and nice to talk to you again. Jaak, moving on.
Still 40 years old.
40 years old.
Still 40 years old.
Damn, dude. Welcome to reality.
Hi, I'm Shirley. I'm originally from Estonia. Past 5.5 years, I lived in Zug, which is the crypto valley of Europe, based in Switzerland. And I'm in crypto for over 6 years. And I started my career early 2018 in a crypto mining company and brokerage firm. And over 4 years, I've been one of the founding team members of Velas blockchain and currently running as a COO and director of our company. And we have a global team of around 100 people. And we have some pretty cool partnerships which we launched. And yeah, I'm also a mother. And recent mission of mine is to attract more ladies to the space, but not only. So I launched crypto courses and master classes, and yeah, that's it.
So let me ask you guys a question. The crypto market right now is $1.2 trillion. $1.2 trillion. That's a big one. I think Bitcoin represents about half of it, right? Why aren't more women in crypto? Open-ended question.
So I guess first thing we see, so I think overall when I'm in Dubai at the conferences, there's maybe maximum like 100 women in the space, right? So that's one of the hard things because we don't have the women, we don't see the leadership of women coming to the space, encouraging, although we are raising voices for them, but it's not a common view that you see in the space, right? But of course, male-dominated field where just, you have to have certain kind of characteristics to make yourself visible in the space. That's something which is holding many women back.
Do you think that making yourself visible is a key element to participating in crypto?
I wouldn't say that's my main argument in here, but it's just there's certain kind of characteristics that you have to have. First of all, to be able to be bravely jumping into a space which is technical, to understand that space, the technicalities of that, and then also speaking up
in places where there is a
Okay,
lot
but
of...
you said that male-dominated. The way you said that was almost in a derogatory manner. Like, well, it's a male-dominated space. Like, there's some kind of a patriarchy holding women outside of crypto. But then you listed certain characteristics. For example, you listed lack of neuroticism. Like, you have to be able to take bigger risks, right? And women generally are more neurotic than men. That's actually that's an accurate personality trait. It's actually the biggest thing that separates women and men on a personality scale is neuroticism, right? Which is why women end 80% of all marriages that are ended by women because they're more neurotic. You talked about crypto being technical. So generally men are more interested in things and women are more interested in people, right? Like that's how you see it actualized in the college space and the majors that, especially in the more egalitarian societies, right? Women, especially in those societies, tend to take more people-oriented majors and men tend to take more technical or things-oriented majors, right? And then you talked about speaking up in a space which is trait dominance, which again is generally going to be more of a male characteristics. We're just talking about personality traits, right?
Mm-hmm.
So is crypto then inherently a product or an industry that's just going to attract more men because of those personality differences? And if so, what would cause that to change?
Maybe, yeah, another one.
Currently, it's the technical complexities, the user experience, which is holding women back. They think it's something for men. This is like the common perception. I think more like creating awareness, providing them a hand, showing them it's nothing that you should be afraid of. And yeah, creating education, like industry-specific education, because women are more busy, with families. I know very well because I have my own child, and I had 0 days off because I'm working in the space, and it's 24/7, 365, and you need to keep up with the updates every day. So it's a lot to bear. So it's a matter of curiosity, your own will, but the more and more we see like stable coins being adopted, and the more the blockchain and the NFT as technology is becoming transparent, and the user experience improves, I think we will see natural adoption also by women.
So you made a really interesting point. You said that like, look, I'm a mother, I got a lot of things to do, and crypto is a 24/7 engagement, right? Really, when I look at the crypto industry, what I see is an industry that's sort of really right now operating on startup principles. And startup principles means there's very little stability. Would you say that's accurate? It's a chaotic industry?
It is. And I do agree that the risk that we also didn't kind of mention, both of us, the riskiness of the industry is something that holds many women also back. And we do know that men are usually more risk averse.
No, less risk averse. Men have a higher propensity for risk.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly.
Especially men are generally higher risk takers. By the way, do you guys know why men are bigger risk takers than women?
You can enlighten us.
Would you like to know? It's actually very interesting. So when you look at a society where you have polygamy as a standard set, so for example, you look at like Pakistan or Afghanistan, where you still have polygamy as a generally practiced thing, where a man can have 7 wives because that man has all the resources, right? The reason that religions have legislated polygamy away in general is because polygamy leads to war. And the reason it leads to war is when a large number of men or any number of men don't have access to sex, they start to engage in higher risk-seeking behaviors to separate themselves in the status hierarchy. Does that make sense? So the reason that men have a higher risk propensity is actually because men have to work for sex. That's an actual psychological thing. We're going to back that up with studies for all you assholes on the cite the study. I'll cite the study, but you're not allowed to say that study's bullshit because you can't read. Here's a question for you. And by the way, you made another really interesting point about crypto. So we talked about how it's chaotic and it's a startup environment. You have to work all the time, right? So I started digging into it a little bit to try to understand, why aren't there more women in crypto? And the answer that I came up with is that you have to work 24 hours a day to compete in this industry right now. Would you say that's true?
Mm-hmm.
Now, here's what's interesting about that. And then I started looking at some interesting statistics between the disparity of income between men and women, specifically about the gender gap in pay. Now, I just want to ask you guys, you can be as honest as you want to be. When I say gender gap in income, right, what does that bring to mind here for you girls in Estonia or Dubai? Honest answers. You can be as honest as you want to be.
Salary gap in...
Yeah, like the gender pay gap. We talk about that men earn more than women, and there's this, we need to lower the gender pay gap. What's your thought when you hear that? Like, just be super honest, as honest as you want to be.
Is it a thing or not?
Well, I'm asking. I want the girl's opinion, right?
I mean, it's a thing that scientifically, the studies show that. And again, I do think that it's connected with speaking up, valuing yourself in the workspace, understanding what kind of value you can bring, and then, standing up for yourself. And
I don't know the latest stats of Estonia. I haven't been here. I mean, of course, in Switzerland, it's more
I'll tell you what
even.
it is. Estonia's got the biggest gender pay gap in Europe.
Exactly.
Maybe it's connected to the fact that it has the friendliest maternity policies.
So let's attack that issue. So I actually looked into the stats for the gender pay gap and how it connects to crypto. And here it is, okay? The gender pay gap between men and women is like 24 cents on the dollar. So for every dollar a man makes, a woman makes 76 cents. If you only use gender as the only metric to evaluate it, men make more money than women. All right, so let's dig into it. When you introduce one other variable, and that variable being work hours, when you introduce hours worked, on average, single men outwork single women by about 160 hours a year. I'll say that one more time. Single men outwork single women on average by 160 hours a year. That's just work hours placed into the dynamic. When you take work hours out of the equation of the gender pay gap, and when you look at that metric, the gender pay gap is 99 cents to the dollar. Men make $1, women make 99 cents. And it's only work hours. But here's the crazy...
What about effectiveness?
What's that?
Effectiveness.
Okay, well, effectiveness
per hour.
Effectiveness per hour, we can definitely dig into that data. But let's just work here for a second. So when you take work hours out of the equation, like, well, men work more than women. Well, it's because women have kids. That would be the right answer. And when you have kids, like my wife's got 4 kids. When you got kids, you can't really work 24 hours a day because they need you or they'll die. Fair? And kids ask for their mom. Like, and I don't care. Like, oh, you're a stay-at-home dad. It's like, yeah, but kids want their mom. If you're a mom, you know that kids want their mom. Like, mom, right? Okay. So now we're going to look at it like this. So I thought that the gender pay gap can be explained by women having kids. And what I saw in the data, and I'll publish these studies, it's really crazy. It's not having kids that's the main life event that triggers women working significantly less than men. You know what that main life event is? It's getting married. It's getting married. Women's work hours drops most drastically when they get married, before they have kids. Right? And then it drops again when they have kids. And obviously in a country like Estonia, where you give mothers 2 years of pay to stay home, and now you're going to say, okay, but what about effectiveness? Well, obviously there's going to be individual differences in performance. You've had guys and girls on your team that are both idiotic and brilliant. That happens. But let me ask you a question, okay? Let's say you've been in crypto and you've been in finance for a while, right? Does working more hours in the field that you're in, not necessarily, but generally, give you more depth and insight into the industry?
Yes, it does.
If you say no, then I'm just an expert like you in crypto, right? I've never worked in crypto, but more hours doesn't mean more efficacy. So therefore, not always, like some people are going to top out. But that is one of your advantages, Sylvia, is one of your advantages in crypto is that your perspicacity, is that you work your ass off and you outwork everyone around you. Is that one of your advantages?
I would say so, yeah. I will work more efficiently and more productively. I will not spend like any hour chit-chatting about unnecessary things, right? So you learn to be more efficient having a child.
Well, just be careful, because you're making the argument that you kind of insinuated that maybe women are more effective at work, but you're saying you're less chit-chatty. I'm not going to get into the stats of who's more chit-chatty between men and women.
I've been working alone in my private office for the past 4 or 5 years, so
you outwork the shit out of your competition.
Yes.
And when somebody steps up and says, I'm going to outcompete you, what do you think?
I haven't been close to this situation even.
Yes, but you're ultra competitive.
Yeah.
Okay. So when you're talking about like, what about efficiency within the hours? I would say this. If working an extra 160 hours a year makes very little difference because of efficiency, what about working an extra 160 hours a year over 10 years? Is that going to make a difference in your overall general expertise and your depth of knowledge in an industry and your competitive edge in an industry?
I wouldn't say it's about hours. It's about working smart.
But you just said that you outwork everybody. You just said that crypto's 24/7.
Yes, true.
Okay,
I did
cut your
work
hours
day
in
and
half.
night.
What's going to happen? You can work smarter twice, can't you? Or is there a limit? Or is there a limit?
You can have a team. So you have a team and you can delegate.
So why do you even go to work?
Wiser.
So why do you even go to work?
Who said that?
Well, so you're not going to work.
No, it was different in the first years. It's when you're working with a small team, you have to wear like different hats. You need more hours. Once you have a bigger team, you can delegate the work.
Yeah, but somebody on your team has to perform, don't they? You need a star on your team, right?
Yeah,
and that person, do their hours matter when they're not super, when they don't have super high levels of efficacy yet because they're not as experienced as you and they can't make good decisions like you make? Do they not need to outwork everyone else on the team?
I just don't understand your full. Where do you want to get to this with this argument?
I'm asking you. You're saying that there's less women that are succeeding in crypto because of this and that, and I'm saying I'm just looking at general market trends between men and women, and I think the reason that the crypto industry right now is dominated by men is because it's a startup industry and it's chaotic, and every single minute, every single day can completely alter the direction of a decision that a company or individual makes. Is that true? And if you're not completely plugged into it 24/7 right now, you're at a significant competitive disadvantage, right? And the answer is men are obviously willing to work way more than women. That's just data. In general, there are obviously some outliers in the space. In general, so when you're working in a startup environment, and you have somebody that's willing to outwork you by 160 hours a year, and the other part of it here is like when you're outworking somebody by 160 hours a year, right? When are you finding those hours? That's not during work hours, right? Have you gone to any late night conferences about crypto? Weekend conferences like Saturdays, Sundays? Have you done any off working hour stuff when it comes to your profession?
Yeah, definitely.
Have you worked off hour stuff when it comes to your profession? Of course, right? So that's the thing. It's not like, men are just like in crypto, women aren't. It's like more men are just more willing to work in crazy hours. And that's a fact. Because it's hard to get a mom to show up to a conference over a weekend in a different country. Have you flown to a different country for a conference?
That's all I do. And I brought my baby with when he was 4 months old.
Wow, interesting. How many women would be willing to do that?
Maybe 1%.
Mm-hmm.
And that's, I know, everything comes from an expense of another field of life.
Yeah. And frankly, I think a lot of times men are either more willing or just more able to make those sacrifices because, there's different biological triggers to that. And that's, I think, one of the reasons crypto is dominated by men is because it is primarily a startup space. Another thing, and I want to ask you guys is, I see the kind of speakers for the crypto industry, Tim Draper, that Vitalik guy that does Ethereum, right? Why are all the men in crypto so fucking ugly? Go ahead. Real question. Is the crypto space overrepresentative of male simps?
Sims?
Sure. Is the crypto space overrepresentative of male virgins?
No, I wouldn't say so.
Yeah, I do believe there's handsome guys on stages as well.
There's handsome guys in crypto.
Yeah.
Do you think that there's less handsome men in crypto than other industries?
Haven't looked with that kind of perspective, but
I think intelligence is sexy, not looks.
Do you think that there are there's a higher representation of intelligence as overall in the market of crypto compared to other markets?
Yes.
Talk about that. Why is that? Why? Why do you feel that way? Give me some examples.
It's typically, so in the crypto space, in the Web3 space, we see people who dare to question the norms, the government, the policies, the central banking, everything, which we have been taught in school. So I think that represents this independent thinking and questioning and thinking outside the box and this emotional intelligence. And I think this would represent that's the present in the crypto space. Like
you mentioned emotional intelligence. Do you think that people in the crypto sphere, investors in crypto, are more emotionally intelligent or have a different level of emotional intelligence than, say, the normies? Open-ended question for everyone. Jaak, what do you think?
Maybe.
Can you define emotional intelligence?
Can you define emotional intelligence?
I don't think there's a big difference in terms of emotional intelligence when it comes.
Speak louder so that we can hear you. You're a man, for God's sakes. Grow up.
I don't think there is a big difference between emotional intelligence when it comes to crypto or other industries.
Okay. But Sylvia, you mentioned that there's some emotional intelligence argument. Sandra, you wanted to jump in. You had something about that.
Did I?
I thought you did. Am I wrong?
You are wrong.
Okay, back to you, Sylvia.
I haven't had the time to really process your question properly.
Okay. Take your time.
And come back later.
Talk it out.
When we talk about the emotional intelligence, of course, when we talk about the industry, the crypto, there is so much more risk, so much more volatility, which means you need to be able to manage your emotions better.
Right.
So therefore, I wouldn't say that the whole industry has more emotionally intelligent men. That's what my statement is. But definitely you need to have certain kind of a level of being able to manage your emotions higher than maybe some,
right?
Just because of the volatility.
So I think what you're describing is the top 1% of people in the crypto space have a very high level of emotional intelligence in order to be able to deal with the volatility of the market and the daily up and downs. I would postulate that the average emotional intelligence of a crypto investor is much lower than that of an average retail consumer. And the reason I would postulate that for the average person is because I believe and see that a lot of the crypto industry right now is built on naivety.
I was talking about founders and the
right,
team
I said
members,
1%,
but
yeah.
not the investors. I'm not
Okay.
talking about the third world. And mostly it consists of third world party citizens, like that are the retail investors in the space.
Okay.
I mean, like the founders community, like the builders,
Right.
developers.
Yeah. So you're saying, of course, so wouldn't that be consistent with every industry? The C-level executives that succeed in that industry have a higher degree of emotional intelligence, right?
Not only emotional, overall.
Overall, that's probably true. And they probably work the hell out of everybody too. That would be something that, I mean, when you actually look at the statistics on startup founders, which is anybody in the crypto space that's starting as a startup founder and probably at some kind of a exponential level compared to other industries which are more mature, startup founders generally work considerably more than any other type of worker and are generally consistently less happy. In fact, when I'm looking at data, again, I'll publish this report, a startup founder, in order to be equally happy as a regular employee, would have to earn 2.5 times as much as they're currently earning. And that's just to match the happiness metric per dollar, right? But what is it with the crypto founders? What is it that so many of them, at least in the public eye, they're so scammy? You know what I mean? I'll give you guys a story. Like I put a bunch of money into Celsius Network, right? Because Alex Mashinsky went on camera and he talked about how unbanking is so popular, and I liked him and I watched this, and then I put like $250,000 in, and then he fucking stole it. So then I feel like an idiot because this guy was just like, blah, blah, blah. And then immediately, all my friends and I were pulling everything off of FTX, off of Binance, et cetera, because there's a scam element to crypto. Why is there a scam element to crypto? Or maybe that's just what the news is showing and there isn't. Like, what's going on with that?
I would say there's quite a few startup guys in crypto who have good intentions. But when, let's say, shit starts hitting the fan, then they have choices to make, right? Are they gonna, be the man who's gonna try to do the best for the shareholders, or is he gonna try to just, jump ship? And I think that's what's mainly going on. Of course, there's a lot of scams that are outright scams from the beginning also.
But every startup founder in any industry is going to have problems. Like I'm in the soup business, we got problems. It happens, But you don't see a lot. Like you don't see a chain of retail store, CEOs or executives jumping ship and stealing millions and billions of dollars from people.
It's the regulation, because the regulation takes up only after something gets innovated, like another way of fundraising, a new hype, whatever. The regulation takes like 2-3 years until it's executed globally. It might be executed in one jurisdiction, but then the project will jump into another jurisdiction to another one. So until we don't have global, clear guidelines, jurisdiction in place, it will happen again and again.
So you're saying that these guys are just taking advantage of existing loopholes and laws?
Non-existing jurisdiction.
But does that not mean that those people are naturally drawn into industries and opportunities that are not regulated so that they can exploit them? Or do you think that's just going to happen in any industry until it's regulated?
I do believe it's something which we see throughout different industries. I do believe that humans can be greedy. There is bubbles. So we're searching for those possibilities to explore those industries where you can get the most out of it. I do believe there is a huge percentage of people who still are driven by the gains that they can have from the industry, not having in mind the whole mass adaptation on a larger scale on a healthy level. So therefore, they might be digging for these gains in a, not good manner.
So is regulation the answer?
That's, of course, one of the key elements, I do believe, to getting rid of the scammers.
Okay, so you're saying in regulations, what else then? You said one of the key.
Also media, right? Like you said, we read more about the negative situation, especially in Estonia. You constantly read about some scammers, but you never read about success stories, or you rarely read about success.
Are there a lot? Are there more success stories? And I'm talking about like relative to other industries. Are the success stories as equal in terms of percentage of outcome or more? Or is there just are there much fewer success stories relative to the scammers in this industry?
I would rather agree with the second statement that there is less success stories, as we don't have just the case studies that are happening on a larger scale, on a customer level, where we can see the benefit immediately, right? So yeah.
Well, I would always bring an example of Estonian e-services, which are now 20 years on private network, but it's operating exactly as blockchain. So it is KSI blockchain, which was developed by CardTime over 20 years ago. This could be basically built on a decentralized blockchain, and you would see benefits of what Estonians have been having now, like the accessibility of the services, being 24/7 all over the world, giving encrypted signatures, and transparency, bringing down bureaucratical costs and expenses. And this can all be adopted on using a public blockchain.
So one of the key things about the Estonian e-services blockchain is that it verifies identity, and that identity is governed. It's overseen by the government. It's fully transparent. Wouldn't bringing such a service into crypto and regulating it to that level completely eliminate the benefit of crypto in that it is anonymous and that it is owned by the private people rather than the government? Question to you. Like, wouldn't over-regulation or just additional regulation just turn crypto into regular financial markets, again, controlled by the government, which eventually be absorbed as a central bank?
Well, the services Estonian government provides, it has to be protected by the government because it's your data, it's your private.
Sure.
It has to be secured.
Then how do you resolve regulation in crypto, which naturally attracts a retail consumer, which is anti-regulation? Who is anti-regulation?
How you attract? I mean, it will be adopted.
But it will be regulated.
Yeah.
Okay, but you understand what I'm saying, right? Like,
I know.
the key element for crypto that attracts a lot of retail investors is that it's a seemingly currently safe, decentralized way to fight against central bank digital currency. It's a money that's not controlled. I mean, crypto was really, if you look at the history of Bitcoin, its roots are sort of in that Ron Paul campaign era, which you kind of have this libertarian bent towards individual autonomy over your finances, right? But now we're talking about regulating, which again brings it like who's going to regulate it?
Bitcoin will be as it is. There will be privacy networks, anonymous ways of still doing transactions, but so it doesn't disappear anywhere. You will have those both worlds, the regulated one and the unregulated one, which the government doesn't have hold of.
Yeah, but your argument is that we need more regulation. That's what you said. Is that the outcome that you want?
It will attract masses. It will attract institutional money. It's actually good for the space.
I would like to add an example from the Estonian market, as with the last year anti-money laundering regulations that came into place. The way the Estonian blockchain companies were regulated, many of the licenses were taken away, right? And only the ones which were having a solid use case and a customer base could be allowed to then...
Who decided if the use case was solid? Who made that decision?
That was the regulation had certain kind of rules, right? But also the ones who could not pay for the new license, which meant they don't have enough traction or need on the market, will kind of falling away. And I do believe the industry needs to go in order to develop through those phases where, the kind of, excuse my French, but bullshit kind of, flows down the trench holes, and then the companies that are actually bringing the mass adaptation forward can then bring the trust of the retail consumer more to the space.
Yeah, I think it could have been done slightly differently than it was. Because I had a crypto license company, and they were like, closing the gap more and more for operation of companies that don't have hundreds of thousands or millions to invest and have deposit with Estonian authorities and so on. So it's like my company was one of those companies that kind of got left out because, I had a solid use case. I was providing services to people who wanted to buy crypto in cash or sell for cash. Everything was done according to regulations. But because the regulations were going tighter and tighter, I couldn't operate anymore. I had to make a decision, invest a lot of money into it, because I had not grown enough to pay all the fees and everything, or just stop.
Yeah, but I do now think that you're operating in another space, in the same space, but with another solution that was then also still beneficial for you to move onwards and then come up with a bigger kind of offering to the clients.
I think the axe that was used was too big.
Too big.
Yeah, it could have been.
I do believe that there are most probably many opinions related to that.
Of course, you always have to find a balance. Like where are you gonna draw the line?
Yeah, I think with this step, Estonia lost its competitive advantage. It's completely behind the curve. It was known as a digital society. Now it's just like Web 2 society. Like you have a lot of startups here, but it's all Web 2. You can maybe count on one hand the crypto companies that are based out of Tallinn, and just because of the low labor costs. So I'm constantly evaluating different jurisdictions. It wasn't the most wise choice of going that extreme.
Well, so that begs the question. This is a Thomas Sowell philosophical type of question. It's not a matter of what's right. It's a matter of who decides what's right. And so you're saying that regulation is the answer. Who's going to decide what the regulations are? It's going to be government, isn't it? And is government inclined to be crypto friendly?
Well, actually, Estonia wanted to launch an digital euro like years ago, 5 years ago, 6 years ago, and they were stopped by the central bank. So they used to be crypto friendly.
Yeah, let me talk about that. And Estonia trying to launch a digital euro and the crypto bank stopping. In case anybody's wondering my position on this, I am just unabashedly opposed to any sort of central bank digital currency. I think it's evil, and I think it's worse than evil. I think it's nefarious and insidious, and I absolutely abhor the idea that my money will be digital. And the reason I don't like that idea in any way, shape, or form is because I know what's going to happen is it's going to eventually turn into a social credit system where I have to limit my consumption of meat. I have to limit my consumption of drugs, which I don't take, by the way. I have to limit my consumption of all sorts of things that the government deems as unhealthy. And have we seen the government making a lot of very wise decisions when it comes to regulating businesses? No, we haven't. Now, imagine what happens when the government starts to regulate your body. Have we seen the government try to regulate our bodies in the last 5 years? Yeah, we sure have. And how did that work out for society, right? It's had terrible negative consequences for mental health, amongst other things. And the idea that Estonia tried to launch a digital currency wasn't that the CBDC, it wasn't that the Central European Bank was against digital currency. They weren't. Is that they were against a digital currency being controlled by an autonomous nation. That's their problem. They want to control it because they want to be globalists and rule us all. And that's why I struggle with the question of should we regulate crypto more or not. I understand that crypto is playing off the naivety of retail idiots like me. I get that. But at the same time, I wonder who's going to be doing the regulating.
It's unstoppable. Like there's nothing we can do about it.
Do about what?
The regulation will happen, but there are ways. There will be ways.
How does that affect a company like Vilas in terms of regulations and things like that?
Currently, in no way, because we're fully decentralized. We're front end only. We don't store any customer data, or we don't handle any funds. So it's just an infrastructure and layer of technology. Currently, we're still safe, but let's see. Like I've heard rumors they even want to regulate fully decentralized solutions.
Will crypto be a big player in the B2B space?
Of course.
Why? Where does crypto fit into the B2B space?
Eliminating middlemen, bringing down the costs, enabling bigger profits for businesses.
You're talking about just the technology of transferring the money.
Um,
How will it bring down the cost? How will crypto bring down the cost in the B2B space?
by enabling transactions, communication, whatever, like all kinds of assets and value being transferred without having to use intermediaries.
Explain that for a layman. Explain that for somebody that doesn't understand those words.
Let's bring an example of concrete business because it's like very
In my business,
general.
My business is in the clothing business. We trade, with manufacturers. We also supply retailers. That's on top of our actual retail business where we go direct to consumer. How will a guy like me who runs a clothing store, which many types of these kind of businesses exist, benefit from crypto?
Mainly they'll be able to track down the source of the fabrics, make sure it's original, what you claim it to be.
Okay, so you're talking about more transparency through the blockchain to make sure that the sourcers, the suppliers, and that can be made transparent to the end user as well. Okay, what else? That's good.
Do you accept crypto?
Absolutely. We were the first company in the world to do a crypto for suit transaction. I can prove it. We actually filmed the transaction with Henry over there. It was with Ray Yosef, who was running Paxful at the time. And we went to his penthouse at the time here in Tallinn in Old Town, and we sold him a suit. And I think over the course of the year, I collected something like 6 Bitcoins over a course of several suit sales. And it turned out to be a pretty darn good trade. So yes, we definitely do accept crypto. In addition to that, when the war in Ukraine broke out, we had some clients in Moscow at the time that had owed us money because they had made a deposit on a suit. They'd got their products delivered, but obviously we weren't traveling to Moscow anymore, and we decided to close that operation down. So the clients ended up paying us because they couldn't wire us money anymore. SWIFT had been shut down for them. Those clients ended up paying us in crypto. So they kept their promise to us. So yes, at that level, it was definitely very helpful. And then over the years, some clients prefer to pay in crypto for one reason or another. I think in a lot of cases, they were just trying to dump the damn crypto. That's what I think. But I'm talking about more in a business to business. So the blockchain being a technology that can track, for example, we as a company, we claim to be a net carbon neutral manufacturer. That's a promise that we make to our consumer, right? A company like Dorme, which has wonderfully supplied the fabric for this beautiful suit, has DNA implanted into the fibers of the cloth so that people can test it to see that it's legitimate Dorme cloth. I mean, they've gone that far. I mean, talk about blockchain. DNA is really the ultimate blockchain, isn't it? And so I understand that, companies can now provide ways to track the production process using blockchain, which is, crypto blockchain, to supply that, let's say, confidence to the consumer. So that's a fabulous use. I like that use case. Are there any other use cases?
I mean, as a business, if you have a huge community or fan base or following and millions, you're able to generate additional revenue streams by adopting NFTs or fan tokens or merch that is digital. And it will enable a closer and more immersive experience with your fans or followers or clients. So that's another use case.
Let's talk about NFTs. What are NFTs, and do they have a future? Do you have a word on this, Andrew? Is there something you know about NFTs that I should know?
I do believe that they have future. It's to go dive deep into NFT art and collecting that, it's another whole asset class you need to put a lot of effort in to understand the game, right? With whatever asset class you're choosing, you really need to understand how the price is being influenced. But again, what also Shirley mentioned about the additional value that brands can bring to their customers through NFTs, that's a huge use case that I agree with we will see in the future being played out.
I would say NFTs, they do have a future, but the main hype what's going on is people try to make money in it. And those are mostly the same people who try to make money in crypto also. So those people who, like you said, don't have enough emotional intelligence to really understand and dig into it. So they probably end up losing money instead of getting any gains on it. And when it comes to NFT, like staying on the scene or being useful, there are use cases. I know Shirley knows a lot about it because I think Velas is implementing, working together with some artists and games where NFTs can be used. Like they have like real use case.
Not only games, it's like we're speaking about art a lot, but this is the last use case NFTs. Or it's not the last, but we met the ERC721 lead developer and author, and his initial idea implementing it was to use it for health records, and what it mainly provides is like being able to fractionalize different assets, prove ownership and authenticity, and I think we will see bigger usage of NFT technology in exactly like real world space, like be it health records, authenticity of the fabric.
How are NFTs connected to health records? I don't understand that. Explain that.
It will be like an encrypted certificate in a digital format, like a token.
Okay.
Or a let's say, I read about the soul-bound tokens you mentioned Vitalik earlier, and they have written a white paper of soul-bound tokens. So all of your personal information and, I don't know, your school, diplomas, everything can be NFTs, and they're completely unique, like non-replicable. And that's his vision of how the NFT technology will be eventually used.
So I could put Mickey Mouse on my high school diploma if I pay a little more money and the school earns $10.
No, it will be probably issued by some legitimate source.
Are you questioning the legitimacy of Mickey Mouse? I just want to point out that he is the first highly popular Black cartoon character. And so do we need to dive into that a little bit?
No. The main reason big brands use NFTs, by the way, is what I just mentioned earlier, is how they communicate with their audience until now. It was like maybe newspaper, like mediums that are old school, but you have new Generation Z that you need to engage and retain using different means. So I think this VR, like gaming, Roblox, Decentraland, all this, in order to facilitate assets in these platforms and transactions, we need NFT technology. So the main point for brands to use this technology is to attract and retain younger generation who will be their future customers.
And maybe to add on, about the gaming industry, we see, for example, let's say Counter-Strike, their skins being traded by the gamers, right? Then when we talk about gaming industry itself, it's bigger than music industry, and it's huge. And we don't see yet that much NFT technology or blockchain being implemented. But we will see for the Gen Zs or the even younger generation, for them, it's like understandable to be owning something in the virtual world. You have to have ownership of that and then proof. And so
it's currently the in-game elements, they are only in the silo, like in their closed platform.
Yes.
But you could have it as an NFT and trade it across the platforms, or go to some OpenSea and sell it, sell your skin or weapon or whatever. I mean, it might be not beneficial for the game producer or the developer, and this is why they're holding it, in-house only in a closed environment, because they will lose revenues in this way. But actually, if they would be more educated, what they can do with this technology, for example, applying in the smart contract royalties,
It's literally what they need to do, just apply a royalty in order to receive an item or to dispense of an item, regardless of the platform. Once it enters the sphere of the game itself, they take a royalty on its import, and then they just leave it the creators to create. I have quite a bit of a knowledge in the industry, in the video game industry now. Before I say it, I have to warn ladies, please keep your panties on. I know what I'm about to say is just going to send you guys to the moon, but I was a professional gamer in high school. I know, calm down. I know that there's really nothing more valuable in the marketplace than a man that plays video games for 90 to 120 hours a week. And I'm not even going to need to brag here. You understand what this means. I played against Korean girls and beaten them. Yeah.
Which game?
Red Alert 2. I was number 17 in the world, number 1 in Canada. Red Alert 2 was the biggest game of 2000, 2001. So, if battle units ready. And one of the things, I had a conversation, I was in Israel about a year ago with Kevin Sorbo, who played Hercules back in the day. And he asked me, he's like, well, why would anybody buy digital assets like these NFTs? Seems a little bit silly. And I said, man, listen up. So back in 2001, I'm a professional gamer. In 2006, I go to Korea, right? And I turn on my TV in Korea, and what do I see? No, not what you're thinking. I see video games being played like StarCraft, like 3 dedicated StarCraft channels. First thing I see, right? And one of the things that was happening in Korea at the time is that there are certain weapons that you can mine in the game. Like Warcraft is actually an example of that, right? And what the Koreans did was pretty brilliant. They created these farms. Okay, girls, I need you to stop thinking about the video game thing. I know, just calm down. They created these harvesting farms where they hired high school kids to come in after work, and all these kids would do was play the game to farm the weapons, and then they would sell those weapons to other gamers, right? And so I said to Sorbs, man, 20 years ago, we already had NFTs as a digital class asset, and 20 years ago, kids were willing to pay money to acquire these digital assets, right? The other day, I'm on my daughter's phone. I'm just like, let's see what she's doing. She's 8 years old. And oh my God, she's got a credit card connected to Roblox, and she's freaking buying all these skins on Roblox. And I cut that off. I was like, what the hell? You've been spending like hundreds of dollars on this. You're 8. You shouldn't be doing that. But then I understood that this entire digital universe that's completely made up and fake, it's very native to the current generation. Like they live in that universe. And so there's not a lot of divide for them between owning this cup and owning a cup in a game, because they're part of living in both universes. So that asset class, that digital tool, that digital, what did you call it? Twin, right?
Twin, yeah.
Yeah, the digital twin is a very real asset class. People want to own it. Now, the second argument that I hear back a lot about NFTs are people are like, well, but it's just art. Nobody's going to want to pay money for art. It's like, well, the art market is really, really big. And, well, it's not the Mona Lisa. Yeah, but you can photocopy a Mona Lisa. You can buy a copy of the Mona Lisa at Walmart for $10. So why is the Mona Lisa still worth $1 trillion? Like, why is that? So there is an implicit value to originality. The only difference is, and by the way, how much do art dealers spend money on appraising originality of the art? Like, it's an insane amount of money to say this is the real thing. Blockchain confirms it's the real thing. So yes, there's definitely an asset class in there. There's an asset class that will grow and develop, but people are looking at the critical aspects of the asset class, not looking at the fact that those same critical aspects exist already today in the real world. So I think NFTs do have a future. And if anybody wants to buy the Dimitri NFT with all my different outfits and suits, sign up today. All right, guys, let's roll it home. I think we have some good information here for the basics. Let's hear some last thoughts. Why don't you, Sylvia, kick us off? What's something that you want people to know about crypto, that they come to you and they go, hey, what's the thing I need to know in the market right now? What would you tell them?
Oh, I think it's a good time to start exploring, learning, investing, perhaps having the DCA, dollar cost average strategy, because we don't know when the bull market will hit exactly. So I think we're at the right point to onboard beginners, newbies, and try out.
What would you tell women that are thinking about getting into crypto?
To get on board. If you don't know how, then in Estonia we're launching courses, which you'll find on Facebook under my name, or or just try out with small amounts. Testing yourself, like get involved. You can start only as of $1 or euro. It's very accessible for women and low cost population. Not low cost, but low earning population.
Many people have come to me with questions and telling me their stories how they lost money in crypto. And the main question is like, is there a way to get it back? Or somebody has contacted them with some special offer that there's a lawyer or some special company, if you pay me this money, I will get your funds back. Well, the reality is that if you lost the money, it's gone. You will not get it back. So the moral of the story is make your research. First, get your homework done. Understand the basics, how to detect different scams. Because it's, you spend maybe, I don't know, even one evening of reading or watching videos about it, and you will already get the basics of how to detect different scams. So, like you said, regulations are not going to probably help. I agree with that. It's all about education. Just educating yourself and also raising your emotional intelligence. Don't be, greedy. That's what makes people blind usually. Somebody comes with an offer like, I don't know, in a month I'm going to double your money or whatever. And you jump on it because they explain to you, this is just, this one-time limited offer. And your critical thinking is just out the window and you will lose money. So always make your homework and have patience. It's like there's always going to be new opportunities in crypto.
I just want to say thank you for investing in Dimitri coin. I know it was a limited offer.
No.
And you bought all of it, man. And I just want to say thank you.
So just to maybe add on, I agree with the points being given by the other panelists. But I would then add, maybe we do already have in our circles people who are more into these topics, right? Just go and ask them, I have many people who have come to me and you're like, I hear about the topic. I don't know nothing about it. Can you tell me anything, right? And just because we do have our experience with the space already, we can guide them that they don't need to go through trial and error. Also encourage, as Shirley said, just to get involved in some way or another. So they will put themselves into that information flow. And just go ask from someone who's already in the space and for them to share their experience.
Cool. Well, if I have final thoughts, I'll tell you guys something. Spaces, industries that are chaotic and unregulated and generally very wild and unpredictable tend to attract a lot of narcissists. That's a fact. So if you want to learn a lot about narcissists, join the crypto community. You're going to meet some.
Yeah, I wanted to add one more thought. For women, there's also some women in the forex space also. What I see, the main difference between guys, males and females, is that females tend to be more, they don't want to take so much risks as guys, like we were talking. And I would say this is actually a positive thing long run, because let's say you're starting out, you have maybe, I don't know, 1,000, 2,000 to invest. The guy will just jump on some high yield investment, so-called, and if they lose their seed money, that's it. They have to start building up again. But females usually take their time before they actually make decisions, because it's biological. I mean, the guys went out hunting, risking their lives, and the females stayed home taking care of the kids. So it's like, it's in your DNA, it's in your biology to actually be good investors. The only thing is just taking the first steps to get started.
Yeah, that got weird pretty fast, man. I have no idea what's happening. That's cool. Good looking. That was good. I think that was actually important. Okay, I think we're good.